I feel like I haven't been on YouTube in literally 2 weeks. It's been kind of a nice break. I was out of town, I was home, and then I went to London for the past like 2 weeks, which is why I never take vacations, because then it's so hard for me to get back into the swing of things and I kind of get like depressed and really anxious. But I'm back in LA. I got back on Saturday night from London. And if you're wondering where I am, I have an apartment I'm staying at for 2 weeks. That is so nice while I try and figure out where I'm going next, because one of my friends I'm moving in with in September gets here in September. So I'm like trying to figure out what my game plan is for the next few weeks, where I'm gonna live. But I'm getting really comfortable in this one apartment and I like already love it, and I match with the sofa right now with my jeans. But over the weekend when I was in London, obviously Forbes came out with an article about Kylie Jenner and her being a self-made entrepreneur. And I replied to Forbes with a tweet that basically just said, I didn't think that it was cool that Forbes called Kylie out as self-made, because I don't really think she is self-made. Not anything against her, but as a publication like Forbes that has such a huge name for really kind of scouting talent and showcasing people and their journeys, I didn't think that Kylie Jenner was a good, accurate representation of a true entrepreneur or somebody who really did make it from the bottom. But that got me thinking. I got so many replies to this one tweet. Some were really mean, some were really nice. Most of them were really nice, but some were definitely really mean. This has now been like 2 tweets of mine over the past 4 weeks, between the JetBlue one and this one, that have like kind of gone viral, and I've gotten a lot of messages back from and replies and stuff, and I'm not really used to that, especially on Twitter, because I find my Twitter to be less of a negative place and more of like a positive place, and people are definitely putting a spin on that. But the whole Forbes thing got me thinking about a question that I get a lot, which is, how can you become an entrepreneur? And it's not an easy question to answer, because for a while I really didn't think that you could become an entrepreneur, and I really don't think still that it's something you can just become. In my opinion, entrepreneurship is a trait that a lot of people are either born with or not born with, similar to like being born with being able to draw or not draw, or play sports or not play sports. I don't find entrepreneurship to be something that you can create on your own. But over the past 5 years, a lot of people have proven that you can work really successful corporate jobs, or you could not even have a job, not go to college, and then all of a sudden have one idea. So you could either say that you can't become an entrepreneur overnight, or because of the way that the world has shifted and the opportunities that people have now, you could say that you could become an entrepreneur overnight. But in my opinion, a lot of people who work corporate and then become entrepreneurs already had such a corporate background that it made sense that they went from a higher position at corporate to running their own company. Because when you're at such a high corporate position, like I interviewed on my podcast Michelle Grant, who's the founder of Lively, which is a really successful bra company, and as I die, she worked corporate for a really long time. She was working, I believe, at Victoria's Secret. This interview was a long time ago. And when she was working at Victoria's Secret, that's when she was like, why is there no bra company out there that stands for something more than really like a sexualized image? And that's how she started Lively. And now obviously she's known as an entrepreneur, but she didn't really begin as an entrepreneur. But all it really takes is one idea. But the difference between entrepreneurs and people who are not entrepreneurs is the dedication and the drive that's required to make your company successful. And most people don't have the kind of mental capacity to deal with the rejection and deal with the stress and the like sleepless nights that are required to become an entrepreneur, because it's such a work in progress all the time, running a startup, between funding and finances and employees and trying to balance it all. A lot of people that I notice who start companies or have awesome ideas give up within 5 to 7 months. And this is really similar as well to online blogs or websites, social media apps, or even podcasts, just because nobody really realizes until they're an entrepreneur, until they really start something, how much work goes into it. So that's why I say I find it harder to agree with the fact that you can become an entrepreneur overnight. Obviously, you can have that one idea and that's all it really takes. But I would say it really depends on how well executed you can create your idea and let it thrive, because there's so much that's required to create any type of successful company. And if you're somebody who like is constantly creating companies and they're constantly failing, then I mean, it's completely your decision how you want to like proceed. But I would say that you have to go back and think what is failing. I mean, again, it's only that one idea that you need, but there's something somewhere along the way that isn't making your companies work out. So I would say if you've created like 4 or 5 or even 6 companies and all of them don't end up like coming off the ground or taking off, then I'd really reevaluate your strategy. But for those of you who are kids or young people and want to know how to become an entrepreneur, if you're asking that question, this might not be the path for you, because again, it's not something you can just become. It's really like one solid idea or just in your DNA to like do this and not work for somebody else. And a lot of it comes from motivation too. Like when I dropped out of public high school and went to online school, I was flooded with comments and concerns and questions about how I managed to do online school on my own, and I finished in a month. I didn't have anybody at home with me when I was doing online school. I had no help, but I've just always been such a dedicated person. Like, this is my livelihood, my company, my brand. So that's how I live. And I know I don't have anybody backing me or anybody there if it fails. So for me, it's just a mix between obviously my love for it and my passion, but also knowing that this is the way that I make a living and see myself thriving off of in the future. And because of that, it's not like I have like a lot of other like options or things I'd want to do. This is really all I want to do, which is build myself as a brand and continue to do what I'm doing. But it takes an insane amount of dedication, like so much I can't even explain. And that started for me back when I was little, even when I had first started my blog and like kept writing it and didn't give up on it. And then I even went into like high school when I was doing online school, that I just continued and continued to like write and do work off like times when I didn't have to, when most kids like weren't at school. I was doing schoolwork just because I had to finish and was really motivated to finish. So it just takes a lot of dedication. So you can become an entrepreneur overnight, but more importantly, it's how well you can execute your idea and how long you're willing to wait around for it to potentially fail or potentially succeed. That really is what determines it, because a lot of the time most people don't go viral. Most companies do not just happen overnight. So you have to be willing to put in every hour, every minute, every ounce of like thought process in your body to make it succeed. So I hope that explains a little bit about entrepreneurship. Hopefully most of you guys agreed with the Forbes piece, what my perspective was on it about her being self-made. I am really interested by all of your feedback and have gotten a lot of replies about it, and like intrigued that some people think she is and a lot of people think she isn't. So continue to send those to me, and check out episode 33 of This Is Life Unfiltered this week. That's gonna tackle more about entrepreneurship, what to do to get all of your ducks in a row if you're looking to become an entrepreneur, and how to convince yourself to stay in it for the long run, because working for yourself is completely worth it and worth every minute of time dedicated to it, in my opinion.